It's time for Windows Weekly. Mary Jo Foley is still recovering from build. She's lost her voice, so I'm thrilled to say Brad Sams is going to join us. That's Paul's boss, believe it or not, at Thurrott.com and Petri.com. Paul Thurrott is also here from Thurrott.com, and we're going to talk about the latest, including a big Windows update. Yes, the Bash Shell is here. I don't know if Paul had much to say about that. That's next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 460, recorded Wednesday, April 6th, 2016. Its names are legion. Windows Weekly is brought to you by Audible.com. To download the free audiobook of your choice, go to audible.com/windows. And by Blue Apron. Blue Apron will send you all the ingredients to cook fresh, delicious meals with simple, step-by-step instructions right to your door. See what's on the menu this week and get your first 2 meals free by going to blueapron.com/twit. That's blueapron.com/twit. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single-click screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest Windows news. And here they are, ladies and gentlemen, direct from a smash engagement at the Microsoft Build Conference last week in San Francisco. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Got a nice haircut, Mary Jo. No, wait a minute. That's not Mary Jo. That's Brad Sams. Brad is Brad your boss, Paul?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's our wives.
That's a hoot. That's a hoot and a half. So Brad is editor at Thurrott.com and at Petri.com. Are you editor-in-chief?
Executive editor is the exact title.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Something, yeah.
Formerly...
I should probably respect you a little more than I do.
Formerly, you were a NeoWin for...
Yes, that is correct.
Many years.
9, 10 years, something
Holy
like
cow.
that. Yeah.
In this business, that's forever.
It is.
It's amazing. Well, nice to have you. We met for the first time at the post-build party.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a really good time.
It was a nice party, and I was surprised at how many people showed up.
Yeah, I think having it in San Francisco helped, just because people were there, so it was a little easier. And actually, I was surprised how close that was. I think I don't remember how I got there anymore. Did we taxi over or something? I think we did, but when we left, we walked back, and we just walked a block over, and I'm like, there's a Moscone right over there. It was really close. So I think
sad to say, we'll never be going there again, actually. Place went out of business right after the event.
Yeah. Actually, my first initial experience there was not positive. It was really, it was crowded, but I got up to the bar finally and was like, what beers do you have? And the guy's like, I have no idea. I was like, okay, so this is going to take a while. Yeah. But it got better.
No, I had some delicious beer. I had some good pub food. We had arranged for that as the venue, and then got word that they were closing 2 days before build.
Right, somebody went by and emailed me and said, hey, I don't know if you know this, but
they're out of business.
They're closed. So, by the way, we should point out, Colleen, who works for you,
she's so good,
was so wonderful and did such a great job. She is
so good.
Organized all that stuff.
Yeah.
And she's just special. She was great.
I'm giving her a Microsoft pencil just because she did such a good job.
We call that a pen in the Microsoft side. So.
That's right, because it has an eraser. No, Colleen's fantastic. She's a recent hire. She does all our events now, and she called the restaurant and said you can't close, and talked the owner into opening one last time for the event. And I think it worked out for him.
It
was jammed. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. So to everybody who came, it was great to meet you all. We had a lot of fun.
It really was.
Yeah. And Mary Jo, of course, got deathly ill.
Yes. She assured me multiple times that she was not sick.
She was talking like this.
She texted me from New Orleans, and she's like, actually, I'm really contagious.
Great.
I'm like, well, thanks for telling me now that I'm home with my family.
So that's why she's not here today. She's recovering.
Yeah,
right?
she told me she feels great, but her voice is still out. So
good. Okay.
She has what I call PBSD, post-bill stress disorder.
Conferences, it's hard not to get sick at a conference. You see, there's so many people, you're shaking hands. All it takes is one Typhoid Mary and the rest of us go.
Yeah, I usually get sick. Not usually, but I often get sick when I travel. And that was a great trip for me, even though it was all the way across country. I mean, it was good.
And you stayed at a decent place this time?
Yes, well, that's another source of contention. So I stay at the Mosser, which I love, and
You stay
Raphael
at the
stayed with
Mosser?
me.
You know, that's a
I know.
it's an old residence hotel.
Not anymore, by the way. They're literally.
I had
trying
a girlfriend
to
who
change that.
lived there.
I would
like
live
30
there.
years ago.
Yeah. So actually, by the way, there's a big bill on the door. They're trying to get rid of that, so they want to become purely a tourist hotel.
Yeah, it's actually great. It's in a good location.
Oh my God, it's 10 feet from the from the conference center.
And I
It's
don't think a
unbelievable.
lot of people think about it.
Yeah, and well, the funny thing is, everyone I know, Mary Jo and Brad, and Tom Warren too. I mean, everyone who has basically stayed there once because it's right there, and then they hate it, and then they never go back. And I don't understand that. I just think it's so.
Why do
wonderful.
you hate it, Brad? What's wrong with you?
You know, it's not so much that I hate it. It's that I got sucked into the loyalty reward point scam that every hotel offers.
So you go to the W or somewhere like that.
Well, I'm at the Park 55, which has been converted into a Hilton. So all about
I've
those
stayed there.
points.
Actually, I like the W there too, which is right next to them.
Yeah, it's a great hotel.
But that's hard to get into because
I mean, the Marriott's right across the street from the Mosser.
we call it the jukebox Marriott because it looks like a old 50s jukebox.
Oh my God, it's crazy looking, actually.
Yeah.
Like you go to, was it the W that looks like a nightclub? You walk in and
it does.
gone. It's
Totally does.
Yep.
Some very strange hotels there.
So I guess we really covered Build in great detail. I felt bad because you couldn't really hear me, so I wasn't able to interact so much.
It was really not much of a conversation. Sorry about that. I had a really hard
your
time
fault.
talking to you.
No,
You know,
not your
John's standing in front of me trying to mouth me what you said. I'm like, I can't read lips.
So what happened is our team went down the day before and scouted the place, and it was quiet. And then they get there, and it turns out it's not only not quiet because it's full of people, but there's a presentation on the other. What you didn't see is behind the wall.
Right, and of course, because you have those cavernous ceilings, the sound really just comes right over the top.
Yeah, so the audience could hear me fine, but you guys couldn't. You couldn't hear the audience. It was kind of a mess. We've learned a little bit. Next time, you guys will be wearing headphones.
Yeah,
so I apologize.
Right. I actually brought my stuff. I mean, I thought
No,
for some reason
John.
I thought that's what we were doing.
Yeah, you were doing that, and John just thought that it would be quiet enough that it would work. And,
I got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was too late by the time we got on the air.
I
But
noticed
you did a great
Alex
show.
screwed right out of town right before the show, conveniently.
Yeah.
Maybe
He wanted nothing.
Russianly.
Are people watching? I mean, is every presentation from Build now on Channel 9? I think all of them are up.
Yeah.
They're getting there. I think there's still a few of the end sessions, but yeah, that was their intent to have them all up this week.
That's pretty amazing.
It is. It's great. Yeah, and I watched one on the plane ride home, and I got home and I kind of cherry picked a few to watch this week already as well. So, or wait, when did I come home? It feels like it's Wednesday.
Any
right?
other now post-Build thoughts that you want to add after? I mean, well, for one thing, I'm excited because the update is coming out right now, right? That includes
literally right
Bash. That's if you're on the fast ring. So I switched over on my Surface Book to the fast ring because I want to know more about what they're doing with
Yeah,
Bash.
I kind of shoehorned these in the wrong way because I, of course, made the notes before the Build came out. And so since Build, or at least since the show, we've learned about some other new Windows 10 features that are coming in the anniversary update. So we have some articles about that kind of stuff. But then, of course, the new Build came out. So maybe Brad could just give us a quick rundown on what's in there, because there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there is actually quite a bit. Before we even talk about the features, I think it's really important to point out that after Build, I got a lot of feedback, and I'm sure Paul did too, that people were kind of disappointed about what was announced with Redstone. They said that's not a lot for especially how long the development cycle had been. And I had started writing, and I think Paul had been mentioning too, is like we really didn't think this is everything that was going to be announced from the day one keynote. And if you went to a bunch of the sessions, they started talking about stuff, and then we get a Build today that has quite a bit. So what's in this new Build? Well, Leo, you'll love it. It's got the bash. So as long as you're in the fast ring, you can now get your bash love on Windows 10. Yes, Paul, people do love it.
No. So I was reading an article, and I think this is true, that Microsoft almost had to do that because developers expect, even Windows developers are so used to those tool chains, and it was selling a lot of Macs, frankly, to get access to those command line utilities that developers love. If you're doing web development, for instance, you need to have, grunt and growl, and so having that really, I think, opens up a huge world on Windows that is really important.
I think you're right. I think this was an absolute necessity, and I think it kind of reflects the new Microsoft. They looked at it and said, you know what? Our people want Bash. It's the most frictionless way we can get it onto Windows, and if we can get that into Windows, then we're going to sell more licenses of Windows. We're going to get people to stay in the environment. So I almost think they were kind of up against the wall on this one, that people were leaving, like you said, for Bash because they liked the functionality and they weren't going to build it into Windows itself. So they did the next best thing, and they just literally ripped it and put it into Windows.
I think they actually kind of did this very elegantly.
Yeah.
The way previously, if you wanted some of these tools, including the command line, by the way, and I'll find out when I get this updated, I'm sure you can run other command lines, including TC shell or C shell or
So
C
not
shell.
yet, but I think that's coming. Yeah,
No.
I think
that's
right now it's just
that's an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
If they can run other ELF, they're running direct binaries, Linux binaries in there.
Yeah.
it's a slippery slope, Leo.
It's a very elegant way to implement it. If you use Cygwin, they actually had to rewrite and recompile. And so they're very out of date. A lot of those utilities are very out of date. And I think really not adequate if you want to be a web developer, And why shouldn't web developers use Windows? Why should they have to use Mac or Linux?
Yeah.
I think this is
So
good.
there's a bunch of other good stuff that came out today. And the build, for those who are watching, it's 14316. So as I kind of hinted towards last week, actually I wrote up on Thurrott, there's now a dark theme across the entire, well, I should say most of the user interface. You can go into settings and you have an option, light or dark.
That's funny because that's totally a developer-y thing. That's not end user, right? That's a developer feature.
I almost wrote it in the post. It's like, this is really great for when it's 3 a.m. and you're on your PC and you don't want that glaring light. But it's not. They did this in a very Microsoft way. So there is a dark theme, and any universal app, it will change the body to a dark theme, to a dark skin, but the title bars are still white.
Oh, that's weird.
File Explorer is still white. So it's kind of a disjointed effort. It's getting there, and hopefully they'll get further down the road with it.
It's a pre-release build.
Yeah.
It's okay.
What else came in this one? So we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, later, but the Skype Universal app is now in this release. They completely updated the emojis to match the Microsoft design language. I know Paul had been holding out for that one.
I wasn't going to upgrade, but now, they forced my hand.
And then, Paul, you probably know more about this than I would, because I think you wrote up some of this. Cortana got a bunch of new features, right?
Yeah, and actually the reason that's interesting is because those features are cross-platform features, so they work with phones, and not just Windows phones, but Android handsets and iPhones as well. And so let me look at my little post here. There are 3 main features. So, excuse me, there's low battery notification. So you're sitting in front of your computer, your phone's somewhere else in the office, whatever. You'll actually get a notification on your PC saying, hey, your phone's low. The battery's low. You might want to charge it. Whatever, kind of nice. The Find My Phone feature. Windows Phone has actually had that for a while, but now this is a Cortana-based Find My Phone feature, so it works with all of the phone types. It lets you find the phone from your PC. It will ring your phone, all the stuff you would expect there. That's kind of cool. And then I think the biggest one is probably the share map direction. So in other words, you're sitting in front of, I think we all do this, sit in front of the computer, kind of look at what the map might be like for wherever you're going to navigate. And then you go to your phone and you kind of type in the same thing later because you just want to kind of see it on the big screen. And so now you can actually push those things to your phone. So you can research the trip you're about to take, figure out the right way to go, send it to the phone, pick up the phone, and Maps launches, and off you go. And that's kind of a neat feature as well. So I'm looking, I haven't installed this stuff yet. I'm not really clear yet if this requires a Cortana app update on Android and iOS, or if that's just something because it's a back-end service, it just works. I'm not really sure, but
yeah, I'd be really curious to see how it works with iOS, just because of the limited nature of what Apple gives you compared to, say, Android.
Yeah, first you launch the Cortana app, and then you wait, and yeah, it's not going to be great. So we'll see.
Yeah, and other things that are new, I mean, this, while we were talking about this earlier, there's a ton of features in this. So other minor things that have been updated, there's now an active hours feature inside of Windows Update. So what you do is you say, hey, this is when I use my PC the most, and it will not install updates during that time. I don't know why it took so long to get that built into the OS, but hey, there.
Okay, that's good because, you know, updating while we're doing the show sometimes has been a problem in the past.
Yes, it has.
Yeah. There's a new messaging. This gets convoluted because they used to have a messaging app for Skype, but there's a new messaging, I'll just call it an experience. You'll soon be able to text from your PC, but it's the Windows component, I believe the blog post said, is built in, but there's still some functionality that needs to be updated on the back end. So it's not quite working yet, but you'll soon be able to text from your PC. I don't know if that includes iOS. And I'm sure there's some other stuff, but you can now pin Windows on virtual desktops. So if you need an app on every single virtual desktop, you can now pin it and it'll show up on every single one. And I'm sure there's more, but yeah, there's a lot in this release.
Yeah, it's big. I'm gonna have to do it. I've been kind of putting this off on my main machines. You know, after having spent like a year or more running only Insider builds.
Yeah,
I got to the point where it's like I just kind of need stuff to work.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah,
and is this anniversary? Is this?
Yeah,
like
this is it.
This is the pre-release of Anniversary.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So on July 29th or something, it will come out as the real update.
That's right.
And slow ring people, are they not getting this?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
But fairly soon.
Hey, speaking of the slow ring, so Microsoft pushed, what was that, 2.9.5 or whatever, that last release to the slow ring.
Mm-hmm.
That build was terrible.
Right. They even that was the one they put out on ISO as well for some reason. So
yeah, and so I've got it on
if you download
my
the ISO from the site, you actually get that one.
I've got it on my Surface Book, sorry, the Surface Pro 4 back here, and it drops the Wi-Fi probably once every 5 minutes.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty bad. And they said, hey, this is good for slow ring. And it's like, really, guys? Like, this is the one you chose?
I know. It's so strange. But the process of going from fast to slow is much quicker today than it used to be. So in the old days, if slow ring was going to get it, it would usually be about a week. And it seems like these days it's 2 days maybe. I mean, I think it's going to happen pretty quick, assuming it's of the right quality level, which it appears to be.
Yeah, I've been thinking about putting my main PC on the slow ring, but not with that build. I want to see how this new one works. I've got it in a VM right now, and then I'll put it on the Surface Book later, and I don't know. We'll see.
So it looks like you have, you could. Oh, so this also has the Connect experience. So you can use your Windows 10 PC as I guess we'd call it a Miracast receiver, essentially. So you can use your phone with Continuum to display onto your PC.
Oh, that's right. That's a nifty feature.
This is incredible. There's so much stuff in this.
Yep, and they didn't talk. And it's like they didn't really talk any about this at Build. And I think they could have. I mean, their day 2 keynote was 3 decades long. They probably could have, extended their first one a little bit with some.
I'm glad we didn't broadcast it then. Yeah.
So I was saying to Brad, I'm going to start measuring long experiences in Build keynote lengths, like a cross continent flight is 2 Build keynotes.
Wow. How long was the second day?
Like 3.5 hours.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good to sit for that long,
Did they say anything important, or it felt the first?
I don't know, Leo. I was in a coma. It was.
Yeah. The first keynote had some jewels in it, but it was also a lot of advertising.
Yeah.
The guy that had you like me now?
Yeah. No. So it started off with Xamarin. That was big.
Xamarin's huge.
Yep.
And then it kind of went down. After that, I think it was Domino's and Starbucks, if I'm not mistaken. It was like. Office add-ins or Office extensibility, which is actually pretty cool.
They need to talk about that though for developers. I mean, it is a developer conference. I mean,
of course they do, of course. But I guess I like the way they split the keynotes a little bit better than they did last year. I mean, I'll give them that credit. But I also think that given the sheer amount of content, what they should be doing is dividing it into 3 days of keynotes and projecting in advance what those keynotes will be, so that the people who want to learn about those specific topics can show up. Because the truth is, whatever kind of developer you are, you're going to make these people sit in a crowd for 3 hours and 2 hours of it is something that will never apply to what they're doing. I just don't think that's a cool thing to do to people. And I don't mean people like me. I mean just developers. Like the people were there. And that room emptied out about halfway through. I mean, I think people just got tired of it.
Oh, wow.
And I think what they should do is just be transparent about what each day is and divide it up, logically. And, the right people can show up for the right keynotes.
Yeah.
Not that Microsoft is asking for my feedback, but.
Everybody loves unsolicited feedback.
Yeah. Did you get that feedback email, by the way? I should take a picture of it. It's hilarious. So if you could imagine a web page that is crammed full of text that overlaps each other and you can't read what's what. That's what this, it was like, please give feedback about build. And it's like this gigantic stream of text. So I tried to do it. I don't know if I was coming home or something and I saw it and it opened in the browser and I was like, no, I'm not doing I'm not going through this. This thing will take 157 minutes.
You just need to open it and write, the food's still bad. Done.
Right.
Like it's,
right.
Although I don't think that's on Microsoft. I think that's the convention center.
That's
and that's all.
and the food has always been bad there. There's nothing. Apple had bad food there too. So.
Yeah, it's not good.
Okay. Cross-platform Cortana. You mentioned that, but I'm just thinking, what does that mean? It means Cortana
in other words,
on iOS will know my settings from Windows? Cross-platform.
Yeah, cross-platform between Windows and the desktop and then whatever phone you have.
So settings will be remembered.
Well, no, not so much settings, but rather just features that work on both. In other words, your battery's low on the phone and you get that notification on your PC.
Got it.
That kind of thing.
Got it.
In other words, this is, I don't remember who wrote this, but sometime during build, someone had come to the great conclusion, I think it's very smart, that Cortana is basically Microsoft's mobile solution. That we tend to think in terms of this hardware-software combo like Windows Phone or iPhone or whatever, but their platform really is Cortana, and the idea is it runs everywhere. It works across platform. It's that mobility of experience kind of thing that Microsoft talks about, and this is maybe a first step in that direction, or a step, I guess.
All right. Let's see. We did dark. I'm just looking. We did this a little out of order.
Yeah,
so
it's
I'm
a lot
trying
of
to
stuff
figure out what it is. Is there anything?
Yeah, what haven't we done? So what about this refined update progress UX? What is that?
Oh, yeah. So I haven't done a clean install of the new version that just came out, whatever, an hour ago. But typically when you were updating a new build, it showed a black screen and had that ring, and it would show the slow progress of going around the ring. And Microsoft,
right.
it looks like
watching toast.
Yeah,
happen,
it looks like Microsoft is doing away with that. So now when you update a build of Windows 10, it looks much, much more like Windows Update. It goes to that blue screen. It does a little cycle, whatever animation. It says installing new drivers, installing new features, and it never goes to that black screen. It does still restart, but it looks more like you're just installing a Windows Update rather than a complete new build, which I think makes sense. I think it's less jarring.
Blue screen is a good choice too, because we don't have bad connotations with blue screens in Windows. So
now orange. The new color is orange. Orange is the new blue.
Yeah, we all like seeing the blue screen in Windows.
Yeah, never ends poorly. So that's really what they're doing, and I think it's the right move at the end of the day, because I think the average consumer or user probably has never really seen that black screen with the update ring, and if they come to their PC and they see that, they might be freaking out because they have no idea what it means. So by going to a more familiar-ish view, maybe they're trying to reduce some of that anxiety.
Always good.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let me take
people do tend to freak out when these screens stick around for a while. I'll get emails from people who say, I touched this thing off last night and it's still running this morning. Should I be worried?
It's also 900 degrees on the back. Should I be worried about that?
No, just go to work. You'll be fine. You have fire insurance, too.
All right. Let's. Anything else before we take a break and go to Windows Phone? You guys.
What about maybe just quickly the tile and notification stuff? Is it fair to say I haven't looked? This actually I did watch this session later, but is it fair to say that live tiles pop-up notifications and notifications that you see in the Action Center are coming together visually. Like these things are going to be a little more similar than they
Yeah, they're
are
making
now.
it
Is
a
that
much,
fair?
more rich experience is what their goal here is. So it's the live tiles. I still think they could do a lot of work with the live tiles, but now they have the chaseable live tiles, which we talked about last week, which if there's a content on the tile and you click it, magically the tile or the app opens to what you were looking at. Really crazy, profound feature there.
Yeah,
And then
Chaseable's a terrible name, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of college.
Chaseable, is that what it's called?
Chaseable.
Yes.
Yeah.
How about
at least that's
Ansible?
what
Ansible would have been good.
My first Delphi program was a thing where you tried to click the button in the window, and the button would move as the cursor came closer, and you chased the button around. That's what that reminds me.
You're such a prankster.
Yeah. No,
Why does that
I'm
not
an evil,
surprise me
terrible
the first
person. Yeah. Oh, my second one, by the way, was called was called Visual F Disk, and I'll let you imagine how that was. Anyway, sorry.
Oh man.
If you had, it's good you didn't turn to the dark side. I'm just saying.
Listen, I've skirted on the edge many times.
Yeah. Could have gone very badly.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that's really all that's, all in quotations. They've announced a ton of stuff that's really in this release so far. Now, the question is, do they have more up their sleeve that is coming? I had been told by somebody working at the company that all the foundational work for features is actually done and locked. So they're now working on just, I'm guessing, the visual components that bring these features actually, out of the woodwork.
Alrighty then. Let's take a break. What do you say? You feel good about this, guys, so far?
I do.
You like how it's going?
Yeah, it's rough.
Mary Jo! Paul and Brad are messing with your show again.
You've let the monkeys out. What's wrong with you?
Monkeys out. Our show today brought to you by something Paul loves a lot. I bet Brad's familiar with Audible.com. You ever use audiobooks from Audible?
I do. They are great for travel.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, if you spend time on a plane or in a build keynote, having Audible, it's just so handy. Audible.com/Windows is a place to go to get your free book right now. What are you listening to these days, Paul? I always like to get Paul's recommendation.
Yeah, so I'm actually still finishing up volume 1 of that Fear the Sky series, which is awesome. But I've also purchased and have just kind of started something called The Travelers, which is a novel. It's actually written by a guy who used to work in the travel industry, so it's got a lot of travel industry stuff in it, which is why I was kind of drawn to it. Plus, it's a kind of an action-adventure type thing. But it's basically about a guy who works for a travel agency that gets brought into kind of a spy situation because, he's a world traveler, and this is kind of what happens. And it's got locations all over the world, Paris and Dublin and et cetera. And so I've only just begun it. I got a great review in the New York Times. I checked to see whether the Audible version sounded any good, which it does, because obviously the narrator is a big deal in these experiences.
Paul Michael.
So I've just started it.
Nice. Chris Pavone. Chris Pavone. And then when I typed in travel, I remembered this. I loved this book. This is kind of a girly book for you, Paul, but I love The Time Traveler's Wife.
The Time Traveler's Wife. Yep.
That was
a movie, wasn't it?
It was a great movie, but
was Demi Moore
much
in that movie?
better. Nah, I don't think Demi Moore was in it, but it was even somebody like Amy McAdams or Rachel Weisz or one of them, Emily Blunt, maybe Emily Blunt.
Okay. Yep.
But it was a much better novel, to be honest with you. It was a great movie, and the novel was even better. So I often like to read the novels before I go to the movies. I've mentioned that before. Although if you saw the Star Wars movie and were confused, apparently the novelization is actually a good thing to read after the movie to explain exactly what happened that you didn't really.
Yep. I actually read that before I saw the movie, and then I was a little bit confused by the movie because they left out so much. I was like, how would this make sense to someone who didn't understand?
Right. Exactly.
There's actually a lot of good information in the book.
Ooh, look at this. A lot of science fiction and science. This is Neanderthal Man in Search of Lost Genomes. This looks really interesting. This is every time I unfortunately, go to the Audible page, I get sucked in New Stephen King. Are these short stories? The
Yeah, I
Bizarre
have that one
of
as
Bad
well.
Dreams?
That's great.
You love
those
him,
are
I
always
know.
good. And by the way, that particular book, if you go down the list of the people who are narrating the stories, is
Right.
like a who's who of the best, very best Stephen King readers, including
Nice.
Stephen King himself, by the way.
Nice. You know, what's funny is they, I don't know if they're still offering it. Audible was offering a free sampler of the Reading the Encyclopedia Britannica. But it wasn't the whole thing. It was just 15 minutes.
Aardvark.
Yeah, no, it was kind of, let me see if I can find it, because it was really funny. It was a way to hear some of their top readers.
That's funny.
And they said, you know, you've told us that our readers could read anything and it would still sound good.
Well,
so
we're going to prove you wrong.
we're going to prove it. Let me just, it's so funny. And it's free. It's 13 minutes, but you can hear kind of what their readers sound like. Actually, I'm not getting audio out.
So the actual encyclopedia would be
But
like 1,330
Yeah.
minutes.
This is only 19 words, carefully selected. But you get to see this way, you know, everything from audience to blackball to blunderbuss to decoy.
Jeez. How did they choose the words?
Pretty randomly, I'd guess.
Gerbil.
I have no idea what ephebium is or epistaxis. Gerbil, I know.
I hope these guys fought over who got which
I
word.
know.
I want gerbil. I'm
It's
doing
really
I call gerbil.
funny. It's really funny. But it is a great way to meet the readers, because this is what makes Audible so spectacular, is that the people reading these books are incredible. They really bring them alive. So you'll get the greatest books, fiction and nonfiction, science fiction, performances, over 200,000 titles now. It's the best bookstore in the world, in my opinion. Audible, and if you have an Amazon Echo, having it read to you, I have it read to me all the time. I get home, and the first thing I say is, you know, Echo, read me my book, and it just picks up where it left off in the car. It's so
Just ordered one of those, by the way.
The new one, did you get the dot?
No, I'm starting with the original one. I was talking about, it's funny, I actually want my wife to use this. I'm going to put it in the kitchen so everyone can access it, and I just want to see how it goes. Because at Build in particular, this is why I did it. You know, Raphael has one. He's always talking to it. I talk to so many people
who
have
them are really excited about it.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, Raphael was saying one of the weird things about being away is I miss not having it.
Well, that is weird.
He's used to get up and he asks questions about the weather.
He's formed a relationship.
Right.
Echo,
puts a little dress on it.
Read to me my book. That's kind of fractured.
Or we could do my personal favorite. Hey, read Paul his email so he actually responds to it.
So now I'm reading Alexander Hamilton. Listen, it's going to read to me. It's awesome. Wait a minute.
Sorry, I'm having trouble playing the book.
She does that to me sometimes.
The live cackle from the audience is what's
Echo, read my book. Try one more time.
Getting the book from Leo's Audible library. Resuming Alexander Hamilton.
Though Schuyler knew that Hamilton was a figure of awesome intelligence, he won her more with his kindly nature than with his intellect.
I have to say, Echo,
So, by the
stop.
last time I was in Redmond, I stayed with Raphael, and he says, "Here, let me show you something." And so we stood in front of the TV. The Xbox One is there with the Kinect.
Yeah.
And he says, "Xbox on." It doesn't do anything.
I know.
It's
Never.
like, Xbox
Never
on.
does it in front of people.
Doesn't come on.
Shy.
I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's an Xbox. He goes, no, hold on a second. Then he says, Alexa, tell me the weather. From the other room, with the door almost all the way closed, you hear the thing say, "Today's weather."
I know.
Is, he's like, screw you, Mike.
We now have, well, this is they have like 7 array microphones in here, and it hears you very well. We have 2 actually we have 3 Echoes in the house, and it's not unusual for 2 of them to respond to anything I say.
They battle it out while you're done.
It was pretty funny.
Leo
I have a
likes
feeling
me best.
Leo
likes me best.
Conversing. But if you're an Audible listener, this is really a great. I love being able to go in the bedroom and say, "Read to me," and it just picks it up where it left off.
Yeah, that's nice.
So here's the deal: audible.com/windows. We're going to get you your first book free. We've given you some good choices here. I don't know where to start. Just pick one. The idea is, I think a lot of people say, I don't know, would I like an audiobook? I've never tried it. This is a great way to try it for free. Go to audible.com/windows. You're signing up for the Gold account. That's the book a month subscription. You'll also get the Daily Digest of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. That's part of the deal. Cancel anytime in the first 30 days. You'll pay nothing, but the book is yours to keep. So all in all, this is a no-lose proposition.
Audible.com. You're going to start that way. Just get The Martian. You'll never look back.
Oh, really. I really
Seriously.
should just say, just get The Martian.
Just get The Martian.
Yeah. There's some books where, for a while, it was the Shadow. It was the submarine hunting one that was so good.
Oh.
The Shadow Divers. It was so good. Then for a while,
I
it
have
was
certain Stephen King books that are like that to me.
It was Damon.
Yes, and those books are fantastic.
Yeah, so you was like there was every few years there's one book where you just go, if you just get this, you will be an Audible listener for life.
Yep.
Audible.com/Windows. Try it out today. Now my machine has gone to sleep. Oh, Windows Phone. Now wait a minute. Who was it? Somebody said today. It's one of your guys.
Jason.
The usual
guilty by
suspects.
association. Yes.
Say the Surface Phone's coming. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
It's a bad rumor or what? What's the deal on that?
It's a rumor. Mary Jo had already published a story saying that no new hardware until next year.
Okay.
Early next year.
Okay.
And it appears that thing is piggybacking on that information.
This is from Windows Central.
Yeah, I think the new bit of information there is possibly that there could be 3 models of this phone that nobody actually wants. Which is kind of makes me unclear what the point of that is. But
am I wrong, or was Windows Phone conspicuously absent from the keynote at Bill?
No, you weren't wrong. I wish we could go. I don't know if they have the full dialogue digested into text form, but I would love to see how many times they actually mentioned it. I would bet it's under 5
I think
times.
it's once. I think the actual phrase Windows Phone is like once. It wasn't very many times.
But can you blame them though? I mean, they're not making any traction.
No, I know, but it would have been very easy to have shoehorned Windows Phone into this. It just in passing at a couple of different points. That's all they had to do. And I really feel like it was conspicuously done on purpose. Like there's no way it wasn't on purpose. And I think that's the thing I don't quite understand. Because it would have been very easy to have done one less demo on an iPhone, or just have the phone be there next to the other phones and say, look, it works across all 3 of these things. There were a bunch of moments in the keynotes where they said, and it works great on Android and iOS.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, seriously, it just really seems strange.
Can we just agree that it's dead?
No, Leo, because there are a lot of people out there who have serious problems admitting to that.
Accepting this reality.
Not apparently Microsoft.
Well, look, I think the way I think of this, and the way I've said this to people, is they've already done the work of this kind of one Windows platform, right? It's not that it's already there. The research and development is done. It's been paid for. It's not hard. And the other thing to consider is that regardless of phone, just an actual phone, Windows running on a small screen, Windows running in a portrait orientation on a small screen especially, is a thing, for a reading experience on a small tablet or whatever. There's no reason to stop the work in the Universal Windows platform to enable all that stuff. It's still important. Even if you have like a big Surface device, you want to read a book or something, a lot of times it just makes sense to go into that portrait orientation. And so supporting phone is in the ecosystem is kind of a no-cost thing at this point. We know from last July that Microsoft made a very conscious and public decision to step away from the phone kind of hardware market. But they still put out Windows 10 mobile preview builds. I'm surprised they didn't do so today, but the past couple of Redstone builds have had mobile builds as well. It's being updated. Anyone who uses this would at least admit that the Windows 10 mobile system is behind the one for PCs. The user experience isn't as good. It's not as polished. It's not as nice as the previous version either, for that matter. So I think of it as kind of a zombie thing, not like, not to be pedantic about it. It's not completely dead because they haven't canceled it. But I think you're going to see a lot less phones from Microsoft. I think you're going to see a lot less effort from Microsoft on the software as well. I think we actually do see that already. I just think that they could have, 2% effort during the keynotes. It would have made a big difference.
Somebody was saying during the Insider event, somebody called Terry Myerson out on it.
Yep.
And
I'm sure he very clearly supported Windows Phone.
Apparently tap danced a little.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I mean, Terry Myerson came up through Windows Phone. That was his business.
They must call him. I mean, but I think the people have spoken. Can I say that?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't refute the numbers. That cross-platform Cortana stuff, I think, is very important to remember as well. I think that mobility of experience stuff is very important. Look, I mean, if Windows 10 Mobile goes through some transformation and turns into this beautiful thing that people love for some reason and people actually use, I mean, we'll be talking about a different story. But for today, the important thing to think about here is that if you're a Microsoft guy, a kind of a Windows guy, as I think of it, you know, you have a choice of devices you can use for different things, phones, tablets, computers, and all that kind of stuff. And all of the key Microsoft technologies are everywhere. I mean, even Mac users are pretty well supported by Microsoft, which, you know, sickens me to my core, but it's there. So if that's what you want.
First Mac, then Bash.
Yeah. No, my world's, I've woken up in a dream, in like a fugue state, Leo. I don't know what's going on.
What about this HP Surface phone? Or I'm sorry, Windows.
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Hey, this will be an interesting device.
Did they talk about that at all anyway?
No.
Not even a mention.
No. Well, but the thing there, you know, I guess what I'd say there is, look, people are with Windows Phone, I think part of the delusion is always that there are two parts to it. If Microsoft had just, you know, done something in the past, had done something faster, had done this instead of this, or whatever, had sold flagship phones instead of low-end phones. There's a million of those things. Things would be completely different today. That's not true. This was never going to happen. The other thing that happens, unfortunately, on the Windows Phone side is people are always looking to the next thing that's going to put it over the top. This has been the case since day one. When Windows Phone first shipped, Windows Phone 7, if they just put cut and paste in there, we're going to beat iPhone. If they just, you know, there was always this thing that was going to put it over the top. And today, that thing is the Surface Phone. You know, it's like the Germans at the end of World War II were looking for the miracle weapon that was going to win the war for them. I mean, the problem with Surface Phone, the problem with that HP phone is that for typical people, consumers, fans of the platform, it doesn't actually solve the core problem with Windows Phone, which is apps. And so there are, in fact, I think somewhere in here I have a little tip probably, or somewhere in, I think I have a tip about this later, so I don't want to blow this away too far. There are ways to do desktop apps on Windows Phone with Continuum. We can talk about that later. But I think for the average consumer, the truth is when you're out in the world, you get your phone, you get your apps on the phone. It's just not a lot of it. So it's kind of unfortunate. And unless that changes, and by the way, even if it does change, I don't think we ever come back from this, you know? If Google released all of their apps today on Windows Phone, I don't think it changes anything.
I don't think it would change anything either. And kind of what kicked us off on this is this past week, well, I guess, was it Monday? A video of the Lumia 935 leaked. And this phone, I believe it was going by the codename McLaren, and it had a feature called 3D Touch. And this is what Paul was hinting at.
Is ambitious codename, by the way.
Yeah.
Right.
And
they were going to sell just as many.
You can watch this video, and what it is you can hover your finger over the screen, and the screen recognizes where your finger is, and there's exploding tiles. If you hover your finger over a tile, it'll explode and offer more contextual information.
Tiles.
Hence the name, right?
Yeah, and people, like, if you look at their comments of this, people kept saying, oh, they should have shipped this phone. They should have done everything. And I actually kind of think I agree with Microsoft on this one. If you watch the video carefully, when the person's using it, it seems like it's ripe for, I don't know, accidental input.
Yeah,
I guess would be the best way to think about it. If you look at how the feature operates, it's not something that looks insanely useful, to be honest. It's neat and it's clever. And I think there were other phones that had, I think a Google phone had a feature, or sorry, it was Samsung, had a feature where you could air swipe, I think is what they called it, across the screen, and it would rotate and all this stuff.
It was highly featured in advertising at the time.
Yeah. And everybody hated it, turned it off.
Everyone hated it.
Yeah.
It was like Connect for phone.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think this was a smart feature to ship. I don't think it really offered anything. And it was not going to be some hero feature that was going to save everything. I think it was just going to be a bad user experience, and they killed it. And that's really kind of the end of it.
Air swipe. Yeah.
Air swipe.
Air swipe. Not
It's
good.
like when you kind of wave someone off from a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was not the savior.
So you're suggesting this wouldn't have saved Windows Phone?
No, and the thing was, the phone looked like every other Lumia on the market.
It looked exactly like it.
So it wasn't some big, it was just, I think, a novelty feature. And I would guess that it required some additional hardware, which again is going to drive up the price. And since these devices are produced not at max capacity, it's going to be a significant impact on the bottom line.
Not at max profit capacity.
Well, I don't think they hit economies of scale very quickly with these devices.
No.
And so you got higher price, novelty feature, and they killed it. And I think it was honestly the right move, not to be down on Windows Phone, but I don't think this was a winning combination of hardware and software.
Nope, I don't think so either. Oh. By the way, Leo, one thing you might want to take a look at, though, and I got a demo of this at Build, is this NexDock thing, right? And the NexDock is basically the shell of a laptop. It's got a battery inside of it, 14-inch screen, keyboard, and mouse, and some USB ports, HDMI, and so forth. It can work with Windows Phone. You need a brand new Windows Phone that supports Continuum. You plug the thing in. The big screen is now a Windows desktop. You can run universal Windows platform apps on the screen. The keyboard and the mouse work. It's kind of a neat solution. It's only $120. It's one of those Indigo contribution type things. But the really cool thing about this, I think, from your perspective, is this doesn't just work with Windows Phone. In fact, they were telling me that the biggest interest they've received so far has actually been from not BlackBerry, from Raspberry Pi owners.
Oh yeah,
because you can do the same. This turns into a portable Raspberry Pi. In fact, if you look at a Raspberry Pi board, the thing that's interesting about it is it's actually a little tall just because it has PC-like ports on it. I said you should talk to the Raspberry guys about making a plug-in version of this for laptops that would slide into a hole in a laptop and have the ports be arrayed more, efficiently. This is a Raspberry Pi laptop. And by the way, you can run Windows 10 on Raspberry Pi. But it also works with stick computers, like the Intel Compute Stick, or mini computers, or whatever. I mean, it's really a neat thing, and it's only $120.
So is it an HDMI connection? How do you connect it?
Yeah. Now, this particular model doesn't have USB-C, which is why this is required. Depending on how you do this, it's actually possible to go fully wireless, which is how HP is going to do it in their dock. But the HP docking system will be a lot more expensive than this thing.
Yeah, look at that. They glued a Raspberry Pi to the lid.
That's cool.
This is a great idea. So for $35 plus, what was it, $100?
It's 120. Well, right now it's 120 altogether.
So for $150, you got a whole thing. I mean, it's kind of a netbooky looking.
Yeah.
Well, so by the way, it's a 14-inch screen, so it's not tiny.
Okay.
It's funny. They told me it's the cheapest Chinese knockoff kind of thing they could find.
Right.
If you look at it closely, like especially where the bottom of the screen is, it is exactly the same as a MacBook Air.
Oh wow.
It's very clearly a plastic knockoff of a MacBook Air design. Yeah, but it's 14-inch screen. Perfectly fine. I mean, whatever, for $120. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's really neat. This is a neat idea, and they're very close to me.
This would work with Continuum, but anything else as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you have a
there's all kinds of things you could use it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a neat idea. I mean, if Windows Phone wasn't dead.
Oh, golly, Paul.
But it is. You know what? Let's just admit it and move on.
Sure.
Moving on. All right.
Hey, Mary Jo just switched to Android. I mean, that's pretty much all we need to know right there.
Is she still? I forgot to ask her. I should have given her a decent Android phone.
No, she got a nice one. She got a 6P.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think she'll like that.
Yeah, I do too.
I think she does like it.
And if you look at it, it's funny because her phone, it's all Microsoft apps. She really wants nothing to do with Google. So she uses Google Maps, but the rest of it is just Microsoft stuff.
That's called an open platform.
Yeah. What an idea. Why has someone not made such a thing on the PC before? So the other thing that happened literally just today was Microsoft is allegedly going to become a contributor or become a stakeholder in Here Maps and Location Services. This is very interesting because a couple of years ago when they announced that Microsoft is buying Here Nokia's devices and services business, the one piece that wasn't included at the time was Here, and that made me crazy because I actually said at the time, Here is a more important part of this puzzle than the devices are. Of course, they had to buy Nokia because of that. It was failing, but Nokia held on to Here, and then a year later, they were like, "Yeah, just kidding. Let's get rid of it." And Uber wanted to buy it. A bunch of other companies wanted to buy it. Microsoft did not want to buy it. They weren't part of that process. And a consortium of automakers, I think it was Audi, BMW, and Daimler, were the ones that bought it. But of course, what they've discovered is they don't really have the capacity to have the data centers required to host all of this data and work against all the data. And so now they're trying to partner with a high-tech company, and Microsoft is one of the ones that's involved. Amazon, by the way, is the other big one that they mentioned. But it's possible 2 years later that Microsoft might finally own a piece of this thing that is so important, I think, to their future, because they need this data for their back-end services and so forth, for mapping on devices, but also mapping in the cloud and with Bing and all that. And I hope that this happens. I always thought that Microsoft should have ended up with here. They were the right steward for this technology. So this would be nice if it happens.
So they'd like partner up.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd be like a minority stakeholder in here or whatever. Yeah.
Maybe that was the plan all along. It feels like that maybe should have been
I am not going to describe this as strategy. This is like stumbling in the dark, hitting your head on the counter, and then, pretending it was your idea all along.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It makes sense. I mean, one wondered why the German car consortium spent so much money for something that they had really not a lot of use for.
Honestly, I think it was to keep it out of the hands of Uber. I think a lot of people really nervous about Uber ending up with it.
But it does make sense now that if they can partner with others who have other uses for it, that makes a lot of sense. And
we're actually heading, I'd forgotten this, going back and researching Nokia and Microsoft and all that stuff. I want to say that whenever that purchase came through 2 years ago, this May, maybe, I think it was roughly 2 years ago, we're now 2 years into a 4-year contract that Microsoft has for that HERE data. So whoever purchased HERE obviously has to adhere to the terms of that contract. But after that, it's possible that Microsoft could lose access to this data, which would be catastrophic. And so I think this is their attempt to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, which is why we thought they should buy it in the first place.
Yep.
But this actually is, if it's a long-term deal, is a better way to do it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this could work.
Let Audi spend the money. They got money.
Let Audi spend
Let Audi do it.
Yeah, they have no other big things to spend money on coming up.
So do you think if Amazon wins this contract then?
Yep.
I think
that's bad for Microsoft. Right?
Yeah, Microsoft could be in a lot of trouble
here. Bad for Microsoft,
which is why they should.
Well,
have
unless
been more aggressive.
I mean, it's like any other partnership. I mean, I don't know that Microsoft has an antagonistic relationship with Amazon, so it's possible they would still license it to them. It's not like Amazon has some,
Yeah, they don't have a desktop OS or anything that they're. They could put it on their Fire phones that are doing well.
But mapping information is so much more useful than just nav, and I think that's so the car makers will use it for nav, but I mean it's even
it's
with
real-time
the Echo,
data too. It's the Waze type stuff they want to get that going in here.
I use you can use the Echo now to say what's the traffic like on my way home, and it will tell you. So I can see, remember the new platform. I think one of the big new platforms Microsoft thinks is messaging.
Yeah.
And bots, right? That's how Microsoft termed it. Bots are the apps for messaging.
Right.
I think that makes sense that there's some use here, even on Windows Phone.
Even on Windows Phone, I do too. Well, I mean, look, here is what drives the mapping apps that are available on Windows Phone today, including Microsoft's.
But Amazon, admittedly, is not in that business. But
no, I want to say I don't. Like many people, I'm a huge fan of the Fire Phone, but I think that mapping experience they had, which had that kind of weird 3D effect, I believe that was Bing Maps, wasn't it? I think it was. Yeah. Which is HERE-based data. So, so they have a little bit of a record there of working together on maps, and that went great.
They both did well in the mobile space.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think I wonder how much they're interested in as a search capacity too, right? Microsoft is doing everything they can to make Bing the most relevant. They're potentially taking a stake in Yahoo. They need this integrated into their search. And if they lose the mapping component, I think they're going to be in some serious trouble. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know where you turn after that. There's nothing left.
No, I think they're going to make a seriously aggressive push to get this bid. I think they have to. So. They'll probably end up paying more than the Germans did for the for the whole thing, anyways.
Sure. And by the Germans, you mean the super weapon that the Nazis were building? Oh no, you mean yes.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we're all depressed. Oh. Microsoft's going to support Android notifications in Windows 10. What?
Yeah, so
that's a hoot.
Yeah, this is kind of amazing to me, and this kind of gave me some clarity on that discussion you have with Windows Phone users who are a little upset about what's happening and where do I turn next. You know, Android and iPhone both have their own issues, you know, for a Windows guy. But the fact that they can integrate the notifications from the phone into Windows 10 on the PC actually makes it very interesting. And I think that kind of clarifies things very nicely. So as notifications come in on your phone, they can appear on your Windows PC. You can resolve them on the PC, and they will be resolved on the phone. It's a two-way kind of communication thing. And so it's a first-rate kind of notification system on Android. So it will work the same on Windows 10 Mobile, which is fine for those people that want to continue using that. But it will work as well on Android, which is the system everyone's really using. So that's actually pretty exciting. Very, very interested to see how this works. iPhone, not so much. You know, because they don't really have the ability
you can't.
to integrate.
That's the problem. And
yeah, you can't.
I really feel like Apple is getting more and more increasingly bit by their stance of we're going to do it all. We can't talk to anybody else. There's no openness in the platform at all, and it means that they can get lapped.
Yep. It's one of those things that works. It works really well right up until it doesn't.
Right. Yeah, it's great for battery life, and you can pitch security. And you can say, look, it's a tightly controlled platform, and then consumers say, yeah, but I want to talk to Cortana or whatever.
Yeah, they are slowly opening things up on the Apple side, but it's slow. You know, just the fact that you can have third-party keyboards on Apple, the fact that you can have ad blockers in the browser.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, one of the things I've noticed is, you know, with a third-party keyboard, there's often a pause before the keyboard comes up. And then sometimes it doesn't come up. Right. And then sometimes the old keyboard comes up, and it's like, what the heck is going on here?
Oh, it's a mess. And it's
not a great system.
In the case of security, for instance, they don't let third-party keyboards enter passwords. That's why you see this weird thing, and that's a very Apple-y thing to do. Well, you can use it, but we don't trust it, and you shouldn't.
Sure.
And that's a very
Android it is.
Yeah,
I think is from the perspective of a Windows.
So how is that going to work? So notifications will get pushed to my phone? Is that?
Yeah, actually, it's going to work through Cortana, right? Because you can integrate Cortana pretty deeply into Android on the phone side.
Perfect. Get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
because there's solutions like Push Bullet.
Push Bullet's a great app.
Yeah,
it really is.
And that will just sit in your browser. It's a Chrome extension and get the notifications and push them out to your phone or phones. Yep. I use Push Bullet because I have so many different.
Yeah, multiple devices.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
When's that going to happen?
Who could say?
It's soon.
Now I see this note.
It should be pretty soon.
Be sure to pick the right smartphone, though. What does that mean?
Yeah. So in other words, so the other thing is, and really, I'm taking this from a kind of a Windows Phone perspective. Windows Phone users for a long time had lots of problems getting updates on phones. It was kind of the big story during that entire run. Until the past 6 to 8 months, when all of a sudden Microsoft finally woke up and said, wait a minute, we can let people into the Windows Insider program and they can get software updates that way. Oh, and wait a second, we can do firmware updates that way too, and everything's pretty great. But when you go to Android, the problem on the Android side is that most Android phones are as beholden to the wireless carrier as most Windows phones. And so it's kind of a tough thing to go back in time that way. And there are exceptions. Samsung, I guess, is doing a pretty good job of getting software updates out, but the advice that I have for people is unless you have to, get the S7 or whatever, look to the unlocked phones that work on all the different networks. The Nexus phones do this, 5X and 6P. The Motorola phones, like the Moto X Pure Edition, works that way. And I think for like a Windows guy who has gotten used to being able to get those updates, the one major disappointment on Android might be that you're not necessarily going to get those big OS upgrades. You know, some phones will get like one major upgrade, some won't even get that. And in a typical 1 to 2 year run with a one device these days, that might not be what you're looking for. So, I've been testing Nexus. No, that's not it. It's called Android N on the Nexus 6P that I have, and there's already stuff in it that's so fantastic, and I kind of feel it would be a big step back to go back to an earlier version of Android. And then coincidentally today I saw the story that a year and a half into what's the last one called? Lollipop or whatever? Is that the last one? No, Marshmallow.
Yep, marshmallow.
This thing is on like it's not even on 5% of phones. Like out in the world, so there's all these great new features that come out in every Android release, and most people can't take advantage of those things. So just something to think about if you go on Android. Choose wisely.
Lollipop, lollipop, I like marshmallow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And soon
once
it's
you
going
get
to be,
into
and it'll be nut roll, which I'm very excited about that.
Nutella or whatever.
I like nut roll. Nutella's a brand name. I'm telling you, it's nut roll. Nobody believes me.
Nut roll.
I think they're going to surprise us.
I think it's going to be not coming to your phone.
You're not.
Yeah,
Android
surprise.
not.
You're not getting it anyway. What's the difference?
Well, you know who'll get it? Mary Jo Foley.
Yes, you will.
On her new
Nexus
6P.
users.
Yeah, pretty soon she's going to be doing a show called All About Android. It's just a matter of time. All right, let's take a little break. When we come back, Cloud, Skype, and Xbox. In that order. Prepare. Gentlemen, keep your powder dry.
Okay.
And prepare your wad for...
Wow, we were really all over the first. It was opera.
I've been listening to Hamilton a lot. I know now how to duel. It's the 10 dual commandments. Our show is brought to you by... Thank God we don't duel anymore, by the way, Paul, because you and I, one of us would be dead by now.
Which one of us, Leo?
Which one of us? Took a ball to the spleen. That was a crazy thing these guys did. They would say, "Oh, sir, you have given offense. Meet me in New Jersey on the dueling grounds."
See, I don't think my sarcastic attitude would have flown very well in this
You'd
world.
be dead. I mean, I'm telling you.
Slapped in the face with a white
Boom,
glove
the
repeatedly.
gauntlet. Yeah. And then you have your seconds go out and they negotiate, and if they can't reach a peace, then you go to New Jersey and you each get a gun and
that would probably have a noob tube, so I'd take this guy out pretty quickly anyway. But it would just be
shoot him right away.
Waste of time.
Yeah. Our show today brought to you by something a little more civilized. The idea that all the shopping is done and you're ready to go. Blue Apron. I love my Blue Apron. I like to cook. I love to eat, obviously. And you can't eat out every night. And man, it's probably a good idea to learn a few good recipes. Blue Apron makes that easy because after all, at the end of a long, hard day, you don't want to go shopping and meal planning. But when you get home and there it is on my doorstep, the Blue Apron box, the refrigerated box inside, 3 separate meals of 2 each, or if I get the family plan, even more. And you get everything you need. With no waste. Like if you need a scallion, there's 1 scallion in there. So there's never, I hate having all that wasted stuff in the fridge. All the meat is fresh, the fish is fresh. They have meal plans for vegetarians and all sorts of dietary needs. So you pick it before it arrives. Each is about less than $10 a meal. You can do it in about 40 minutes. I take a little longer, sometimes maybe an hour, but it's really simple. You don't have to worry about it going to the grocery store. No more sad takeout. Just delicious meals like spring gemelli pasta with garlic sugar snap peas, crispy capers, and soft-boiled eggs. Oh, my God. I hate doing these ads at lunchtime. It's killing me. Spiced pork chops and mashed potatoes with kale, English peas, and goat cheese. And you may say, "Oh, Leo, I could never eat that." But yes, you would be surprised. And you know what? Your family is going to be surprised. And you know what? If you've got a certain someone you're trying to impress, invite them over for a Blue Apron meal. This is date night done right. I'm telling you, they're going to flip. Recipes are fresh and delicious. You'll be cooking with ingredients you've never heard of, never seen before, but pretty soon you'll be so comfortable with them, you'll be making them. Things like watermelon radishes and yuzu juice. Yuzu juice and labneh cheese. They also have on the website, they have a lot of how-to videos. So if you're going, "Oh, they want me to do what? Slice or dice? How do you do that?" Oh, look at this is the pork chops and mashed potatoes. And the recipe card is great. So you can really understand where you're going and what you're doing. Look at this. When the spices, it comes with the spices in exactly the right proportion. Oh, man. That's what it looks like when it comes out of the box. It's just, I'm starving. So here's the deal. We got 2 meals for you for free. You don't have to starve. Go to blueapron.com/twit. Pick your 2 meals. Pick your box. They've got a family plan and plan for couples. Blueapron.com. It's a community, too. See all the comments and the suggestions. Blueapron.com/twit. Twit fans get 2 meals free right now. And we thank Blue Apron so much for their support of Windows Weekly and for making me happy. Because I love to cook, but it's that shopping and the prep and all that. And this makes it just so much easier. All right. This was, I thought, really interesting, and I wonder how it's going. Microsoft has announced Outlook Premium for $4 a month. Now, for $7 a month, I get everything but Outlook, right? So
they didn't quite fully come out and announce this.
Oh, okay.
I think some other websites kind of ripped what I wrote and misinterpreted it, which I'm sure Paul's never happened to you.
That's weird.
Yeah. So credit to Mary Jo. She actually scooped this, that Outlook Premium is coming. It's actually last time I was on the show, so about 4 to 6 weeks ago. And we've been just kind of wondering how it was going. And at the time, we believed, and Microsoft actually was saying, that this is just going to be a free bolt-on to Office 365. And actually, while I was at Build, somebody who reads what I write, unfortunately, sent me a tip. And they said, hey, look, here's a screenshot that I just got when I signed up. And Microsoft is trying to charge $4 a month for this.
Yikes.
And so what it is, it's still in the private pilot, and you can go look on Thurrott, and you can find the sign up link in the email. But they're trying the $4 price point for the service, which I honestly think is a bit high. Now, they are giving you a year free. And then after that, if you want to stay ad free, 5 custom domains and a couple other sharing features, $4 a month is a little high when Office 365 is just a few bucks more.
Yeah.
And especially if you go on Amazon, you can get Office 365 for about $50.
But I don't get Outlook with that, right? Or I do.
Right.
No. See, so this is kind of like an add-on, right?
You don't get the full Outlook like desktop application. This is purely for Outlook.com.
This is Outlook Mail.
Correct.
Online mail. Okay.
So it's an interesting idea. I'll be curious to see, again, what they actually launch, if they launch this, and at what price point. They're still piloting it, so this could just be a temporary trial and to see if this takes off, or if they need to, skew it, see what the elasticity is of the price point here.
Yeah, I'm glad they're bringing back custom domains. So it killed me when they got rid of that.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense why they got rid of it either. It's probably the same reason they split Skype up into 3 universal apps too.
Don't get me started.
Yep. Speaking of which, Brad, you seem to have it out for Skype. Please explain yourself.
So Skype, I've offered to Microsoft many a times just to let me go up to wherever Skype is, just let me lock them
with
in a
baseball bat.
for 30 minutes, and I will do some motivational speaking like you've never seen with the Skype team. So, Paul, we chat on Skype every single day, unfortunately, with each other, and it finally got to the breaking point. It starts with messages not syncing across device.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's like you send me a message on the PC, I look at my phone, it's unread. Even though we've had a 30-minute conversation on the PC, it's still telling me the messages are unread. People getting dropped from video calls. The worst one, though, the absolute worst one is the ringing issue. And this is actually very easy to replicate. All you got to do, go to Outlook.com, sign in with Skype, and have someone call you. And if you have the Win32 app open, when you answered on the Win32 app, it will ring for all of eternity on the Outlook tab.
I think this has happened to Paul many times.
By the way, yes, not to interrupt, but 2 things that literally happened today was when they called me from Twit to start the show.
Yeah.
My PC didn't ring, but one of my phones did. I don't know why that one, but for some reason it's ringing. Okay. At least I found out there was a call coming in. But I experienced exactly that same thing. It was actually with Raphael. We were transferring files over Skype. And it was the web app that was making the sound. And I'm like, why? What's making that chiming sound? What is that? And it was in OneDrive in this case. But yeah, they really need to get their house in order.
And that's not the end of it. If that was just the only issues, I would maybe sleep a little better. There's 2 more that drive me nuts. It's when you get 3. It's when you can't mark a message read, where in Skype, it just permanently says you have one unread message from somebody and you can't get rid of it. Or my personal favorite is when a random message from like a week ago gets marked as unread and you have to scroll all the way up in the conversation to see it. Or if you switch machines, like Paul and I probably do frequently, when you log into that machine, it is like a seizure of Skype notifications popping up on the bottom right.
Notifications. Previous Skype notifications that were already handled somewhere else.
Right.
Yep.
And Microsoft is telling us that 3 billion minutes of Skype calling or usage is happening every day. They said this at Build. And
2 billion of which was people just like screaming at Skype, because it didn't work right. It's just like, what the
They have such a widely used platform. And Paul, you pointed out and said, hey, why don't we switch to Line and get away from this? But the problem is, and much like many other people, is everybody's already on Skype. So you got to get everyone to transfer over. And
no, it's one of those things before it gets out of your mouth, or right after it gets out of your mouth, you realize, well, of course I can't. We can't just switch. You are where people are. Back in the day, we would have used Windows Live Messenger because that's where everyone was, and that we know, or whatever. And now we're on Skype, and we're stuck with it. We deserve each other.
Yeah, and the thing is Microsoft lost 18 to 24 months of development time on Skype. So what they did with Windows 8, there was a modern app, they called it then. And they had it, and it was fine. You use the modern app on Windows 8. Then we go to Windows 10. They say, hey, we're killing that modern app. We're going to build 3 independent universal Windows platform apps. Why they thought 3 were going to be great, who knows? And we're also going to support the Win32 desktop client. And so what did they announce last week or the week before? They're killing the 3 independent universal apps. They're going back to 1 single Skype app. And then they're also killing the Win32 desktop app. And that's basically 18 to 24 months. And we know this because the screenshots that they used to show off the Universal app were from when they were piloting Windows 10 frameworks. Yeah. And like the screenshot was almost 2 years old.
That was really funny. Well, but that shows you how closely they are aligned with Windows. Does anyone have an up-to-date Windows 10 screenshot we could use? Yeah, here's one from the preview from 2007.
Yep, pretty much. And it's
crazy.
It's embarrassing. I don't know how. I mean, we're using Skype right now to do this podcast, and it's really embarrassing for Microsoft how bad this application platform has become. And it's not just one user. Skype has really just dropped in quality, and I don't know. I'm waiting for something to come sweep it out of the way, but unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet.
Well, it's not just that it's bad. It's that it's their messaging platform, and if you accept that messaging is the next big thing, and Microsoft's talking about bots and all that. What are those bots going to be for for Facebook Messenger?
Yeah,
I mean, you have a platform, develop it, for crying out loud.
Yep.
And you killed Windows Messenger.
I know.
Yeah.
What is this now? I saw somebody said there's a new Messenger showing up somewhere.
It's probably one of those 3 apps he's referring to.
It's just
so
part of that
phone
family. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see Phone, Messenger, and Skype Video, which are the 3 apps.
But they're all really Skype.
Right.
Sort of.
Yeah.
But they work. Like the devil, Leo, its names are Legion.
Skype. Its name is Legion. I like that.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Strategy. I don't know. So, I was saying, I don't know, I probably just said this publicly or on Skype or Twitter or something, but Microsoft should just buy Slack so we can have another 2 years where we spin our wheels waiting for them to integrate this into everything, and then nothing will ever work again, There's so many little basic things, like they enabled that functionality Brad was talking about a long time ago, where you could have Skype conversations in a pane on the web when you're using, OneDrive or Outlook.com or whatever. Never occurred to them that there should be some little checkbox in there where you could turn it off if you don't want it, or maybe you don't want the notification sound to come off, or just maybe turn off notifications or whatever. I mean, Skype always assumes that if you're using Skype anywhere, you always want to be using it, even though you didn't choose to have Skype be there. It's just there for you, and it's a horrible, horrible design. It's really basic stuff. This is that finishing the job thing I always complain about with Microsoft in general, which they're not very good at. But it's worse than that because they didn't think through how this stuff was going to work. They just blew it out and put it out in the world, and now they don't fix it.
If they could just fix the message read notifications, that'd probably solve half the battles. But I don't understand why it's pervasive and they can't just I'm sure it's a hard technical challenge, a hard math problem, or whatever they say. But it's getting to the point where other platforms are doing things so much better.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know. I don't understand.
Is it a strategy tax thing? I mean, is it warring divisions? What is the issue?
So that's actually
someone said something about that on Twitter, right? That
well, I think it was in the comments on Thurrott.
Okay, it might have been the same person because it was Office 365 versus Skype kind of thing.
I heard that, but I've also heard, at least kind of just reading through the rumor mill, that the Skype team is still angry that Microsoft bought them, and that some of the people that have stuck around are just very haphazardly just building this stuff.
That's great. That's great.
But whatever it is, they need to. I don't know if it's management
it's like
on that side.
Partnering with the French, they don't really care, but they'll sign the paper. I don't know.
But how long has this been? I mean, it's been years, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on, get off the.
Specifically, since probably about October, it is when it went really downhill.
Since we're going down,
there's got to be more than that. There's got to be more.
Microsoft has always allowed Skype to run as its own. It's like it's its own company. You'd never know Skype was part of Microsoft. It's Skype. Skype.com, Skype blog. They have ridiculous blogs that have stupid names, and it's not clear which one is which, and I don't know why, but they do. And they always talk about Skype today released this, or Skype did this, and Skype did this. Guys, Skype is a feature of Microsoft. It's in Office, it's in Windows, it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. You got to absorb this thing. This is getting stupid. Like, this is what happens when you let the inmates run the asylum. If Microsoft has just publicly declared, and I think they did, that messaging is the future platform, they need to get this under control. This is really stupid. It's bad. This is something that impacts us literally every single day. And they're talking about doing all this stuff, Skype bots, blah, 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 Interesting. Could we fix the basic problems that the platform has right now before we move on to doing anything else? I don't know.
Yeah, Paul, going back to your comment here, it was from Chris Johnson, somebody, Leon, I think is how you pronounce his name, tweeted the link to it. It says, there's a battle between Office 365 and Skype over who owns this type of collaboration internally.
Right.
And that's the...
allow me to break that impace. It's Office 365.
Yeah. I think Satya needs to come in here and
this is a real, this is a mistake.
This is strategically bad.
Skype is one of those things that Microsoft has always wanted, which is a popular brand. It's sort of like Xbox, sort of like Surface is a little bit. And maybe they don't want to screw with it for that reason, but I think it was Dr. Pizza who pointed out, the 300 million active users, they've been talking about that number for like 3 or 4 years now. I mean, it's not like this has grown exponentially and they deserve to be left on their own. I mean, they have a Skype for Business offering that still is not easily integrated with Skype for consumers. It's a mess. I mean, the whole thing is still kind of a mess. And that thing that Brad described up front where they had the 3 separate apps and then they had the big app, and now they have 3 separate apps, maybe only on phone, but we're going to have another big app. But this app's going to be a universal Windows platform app, so even if you're on phone, you get the big app. It's just a crazy, happy kind of, what's going on? Like, it's almost like they're just kind of making it up, as they go.
Yeah, that theme seems to be happening a lot.
Yeah.
Much like, not to get off the Skype railing, because I'd love to rail on that, we still don't know what's going to happen to Windows 10 when the anniversary comes out. Comes out about the pricing. Is Windows 10 still going to be free at that point, or what's going on? And Microsoft is not, or as Microsoft really isn't saying much, and it's one of those things. Do they know?
Right. Yep. Yeah, there's no way to really know. You could make a case either way, right? I would argue and have argued probably for a long time. I think we're past the point where Microsoft should be charging for Windows. I think they just make it free.
Yeah, unless you're an OEM to the consumer. If they want to hit that billion number.
Well, I mean, think about it. What's the cost of making the Windows 10 upgrade free in late 2016, early 2017? How many computers are left that people would actually upgrade it anyway? I think you've already hit the mass market of people are going to do it. So there's X number of computers out in the world running an older version of Windows. They're probably not going to upgrade. Maybe the new features in the Anniversary Edition convinces some people, but the truth is Windows 10, like all versions of Windows, works best on new hardware, takes advantage of new features that are not in the hardware that you have. You don't have Thunderbolt or USB-C or Windows Hello capable cameras or fingerprint readers or whatever it is. There's all kinds of reasons to buy a new computer. I mean, I don't think extending the free offer past that date actually hurts them financially anymore. I think we've already hit the people that were going to do it. So that's my vote. And I know,
and they still make
matter.
money on enterprise. They still make money on off the box.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, when we built our ultimate video or virtual reality gaming machine, I had to buy a license for Windows.
And they're trying to make money through the Windows Store too, through what they get a cut of every app. Although speaking of the Windows Store, the funny thing about the Windows Store, so they're trying to make money with it. They get a cut of every premium app sold, but Microsoft doesn't even offer their own stuff through the Windows Store. Like, you can't buy Office 365 through the store. You can't get Xbox Live in the store. You can't buy Skype credits in the store. It's I don't know. That's just another Microsoft ism where they don't include their own products and their own offerings.
Yeah, right. You would think that would be the best place to get it. Set yourself up on an annual resubscribe on Xbox Live and save 10% or whatever it is.
Or anything. Just make it discoverable.
I'm just throwing out an example. I mean, just to, God forbid.
If you go to the App Store and type Office 365, it kicks you out to a desktop browser. It's like really, guys? Like, you couldn't put a little button and even just web wrap it inside there, worst case scenario. But yeah, so that's the Microsoft App Store.
You know what's going to happen? They're going to end up going all in on WebRTC. And then it will be like, oh, Skype, that's so 1998.
Sure. What was that communication standard we had for a while for chat that never went anywhere?
XMPP, which was awesome.
No, but wasn't there?
Jabber is XMPP. Jabber is XMPP.
Okay.
So that, ironically, was exactly what this new open, in my opinion, open messaging standard and messaging platform needs. It was really well done. It's another great googly moogly, because Google abandoned Jabber, and that was about it.
They're also banning smart home items too.
Oh yeah, don't you love that? I don't know how many people owned the Revolve, but if it were me, I would be really angry.
Yeah, I'm more worried about my Nest and my.
Well,
my smoke
that's the problem. I mean, that's why Google needs to just bite the bullet and continue to support it forever, because what it ends up doing is giving people less confidence in everything Google does.
Yep.
Why should I buy an on-hub router? I mean, I could get turned off in a year. Why should I buy a Nest thermostat? Why should I use any Google services? Who knows how long they're going to stay in there before they switch their little beady mortar eyes to some other subject. Ooh, look over there, squirrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could just bring back Google Reader, that would make a piece.
It's been a long succession of this stuff.
Oh yeah, Google's got their own issues of just fly by night. This is the cool thing of the day. Everybody leaves the project and then it just falls apart.
It makes me ask the larger question. It's true with Apple as well, by the way. Exactly what's happening at Microsoft is happening at Apple, is happening at Google, which is these companies have gotten very large. It's very difficult for them their attention span has gotten very short. And they don't seem to understand strategically why they need to do things for users and give users confidence in what they're doing. Skype's another good example.
There's a lot of stuff that just sits still. I mean, one of the things, I've been told by a couple of people this thing's actually been killed, but Microsoft had this suite of apps called Windows Essentials, which you can still get. It's still pretty great. Get.live.com. Windows Live Photo Gallery, Movie Maker, Messenger used to be part of it. OneDrive used to be part of it. Windows Live Writer was part of it. And I think it was last updated in 2012 or something. It was kind of a while ago. It just kind of sits there, And if you have Windows 7 in particular, you kind of need some of the apps in there, because Windows 7 in particular doesn't come with a bunch of, apps that we now sort of get versions of in Windows 8 or Windows 10 especially. But you could use the Photos app in Windows 10 and it's terrible. It's just a terrible app. Yeah. So we're in kind of a weird situation. Like, we have this thing that replaced it. It's terrible. We have this old thing that's actually still pretty good. It still works, thank God. And it's out of date and doesn't work well still in some ways from a reliability standpoint. And here we are, and this is the finish of the job stuff,
That's the hardest part. I think that's the problem, is that engineers don't want to, once they've done the fun stuff. They don't want to do the boring maintenance. And
oh, and by the way, I've read this from Microsoft explicitly. I'm sure it's true at Apple and Google as well. There's far less incentive to fix problems and to close the loop on functional gaps in an existing solution than there is in coming up with something big and new and exciting. And if you want to get ahead in your career, and we all do, you know, you're going to work on the big new exciting thing. Like, it's not very glamorous.
No one wants to be a grunt. No one wants to be a grunt. But every army needs its infantry. You can't all be generals.
Yeah, and I think Microsoft institutionally needs to reward the people that do that kind of stuff, or needs to make it attractive to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's why I don't understand why Satya hasn't weighed in on this Skype mess and just said, you know, stop it.
He probably doesn't even know he owns Skype. Like, is that us?
I never liked Skype, he says.
That Skype was a separate company. Why do we integrate that into Office?
Let's make a division of Windows Phone and Skype, and we'll just put them over there. How's Tacoma? Let's just put them over the river.
What they need to do is, so internally they use Skype for Business, or what was known as Link. So what they should do is for 1 month, make everybody use Skype. They have to turn off Link, make them use Skype. This thing will be fixed by August.
Yeah, dog-fooded. Yeah.
Hey, this thing doesn't work. How come no one ever mentioned this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, let's cheer ourselves up. Xbox!
Yeah, 2 items. So Quantum Break is a recently released game on the Xbox One. And
I love that movie.
Monday or Tuesday?
No,
this
that's
week,
Point Break.
No, yes. If you like Point Break, you like the original version, obviously.
Yes.
Classic.
I didn't even
anyway,
the original, the new one.
Quantum Break is a good game. I started it on the Xbox One. The big feature about for the Windows version is that if you buy it on Xbox One, you actually get it free on Windows 10. Which is kind of cool. And it supports crossplay, which is basically, you know, you're playing the game and you reach a point, you put it down, and then you boot it up on your Windows computer, and you're in the same game, and then you can go back and forth. And so I have tested it enough to say that that works, and also to say that the graphics look like crap on my Surface Book, which just doesn't work. It's really terrible. But on an Xbox One, it's fairly spectacular. Like, people, I mean, look almost as good as they do in movies. Like, they look realistic, and it's kind of a neat game. So that's cool. And the other one, and I'm so glad Mary Jo is not here for this one reason, is I can now tell you the two most important words in my language, which are Master Prestige.
Oh,
which is a new thing in Call of Duty.
Is that better than 11?
It is. It's what's after 11. So
you've turned it up.
Yeah, once you've prestiged all the way, you now enter Master Prestige, and you can actually just go up and level now. So I'm not at 100 yet, but I'm probably at 70 something or something. And I've seen people out there at like 200, you know, whatever. And basically, obviously, Master Prestige does not indicate anything about quality of play. It's more about quantity of play. So I have a really big number because I play it.
Mass consumption as opposed to
yeah.
You know, really finely.
It's an indication of how good the game is. That's all.
That's nice.
Paul can tell you which corner on every map he will sit in for the whole game.
Yes.
Are you one of them?
Oh, I am. I'm terrible.
You're a bad man.
I prefer the weapons that are like, I think of them as passive-aggressive weapons. And so you leave like a trap for someone, and then you hear the little, like the sound of the thing that makes them stick to the floor, and then the bomb goes off and blows them up.
You just laugh.
And you can kind of hear it from across the map, and I giggle a little bit every single time.
And then there's somebody in the chat room has been saying there's something new about Minecraft Story Mode. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Let me see. Story Mode skins
I've never
out for all console editions, Pocket Edition, and Windows 10.
Well, there you go.
I've not tried Story Mode, actually.
Yeah, I'm not into. I think that's for 12-year-olds. I don't think that's for normal people. But maybe I.
So then Paul would like it.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm listening.
I really do like what they're doing though with Minecraft and making PE more and more of.
I hope I think they're going to get it there, and I'm just. I just feel bad it's taking so long, but I think that having one game that works across platforms, and by the way, does that cross-play thing I was talking about, would be so amazing. That's something I could really get into. You spend time on the computer, you know, working on a world, and you're on your phone, and you can fine-tune some things and work on it.
I would love that. I would love that. Especially since I run a server for myself and my kid.
I think it happens.
It'd be really nice to have that server serve all of our instances everywhere.
Yeah.
I hate having to start from scratch every time.
Yeah, exactly.
What else is there? As long as Mary Jo's not here, we really should delve deep into the
It's the world of gaming. Well, by the way, actually, this isn't my picks, but I'll just mention this. You know that on Windows 10 and on the Xbox One, we have this notion of game streaming. It only works over the home network. It's better wired if you can do it. But the notion here is your Xbox is out on the big TV in the living room, and the family wants to watch TV or whatever, and you can go down into your little, cave down in the cellar, which you probably have, and boot up your computer, plug in an Xbox controller, do it wirelessly with the dongle, and remotely play the game over the network. And it works fine. Like I said, it works better on wired. PlayStation has had a feature like this for a while, but in the past, it's only worked with the Vita handheld gaming system, which virtually nobody has, or with the Xperia line of smartphones and tablets, which virtually no one has. Although I don't know if you ever saw this, but if you picture like a DualShock controller, Sony actually sells a little clip you put on the top of it, and you can put your smartphone on it, and you can do remote play with a controller, which is really kind of cool. And I guess remote play works over the internet as well, although I would imagine latency must be terrible. That must be a pretty bad experience. But my understanding is that works. I've never tried it. In fact, I've had a terrible experience today with Sony trying to get this working. But today they shipped a new system update for the PS4, which enables remote play on Windows PCs and on Macs. And you plug your PlayStation, DualShock 4 controller into a USB port on your computer, connect to the PlayStation 4 over the network with your with the computer, and off you go. And that and I literally cannot get Sony to send me an email so I can reset my password. I can't get into it, so I haven't been able to try it yet.
Well,
but it looks like they're doing what Microsoft is doing, basically. And what
Speaking
they
of
were
the
doing too.
Speaking of the Xbox, Paul, you had written up a little bit ago about the DVR that's coming for over-the-air content. And I don't know if you'd written this up or not, but I had learned in the past week or so that you should be able to stream that content back to your PC as well, any show that you record.
Nice.
So
see, that's great.
That same scenario where your spouse takes over the TV.
It's almost like the Xbox becomes a sort of, media center by which you
I would call it more of a media hub. We don't want to use that center word because that'll bring out that's a trigger word for a lot of people once they remove.
So you could kind of, your computer becomes like an extender of sorts. Yeah. By which you can access that information. That's nice.
Oh, you're a troll. I finally figured it out. You're just a troll.
Yep.
Is there?
Look, you cull the weak one from the herd, Leo. That's all. It's easy. It's cheap and it's easy.
I'm just looking at our Oculus Rift over here, and the HTC Vive's coming. It's going to be on Steam, and then I'm thinking about the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation VR.
PlayStation 4K, right?
Is there, or maybe 4K? I don't know. Is there going to be, or 4.5 or whatever they're calling it?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a VR solution for the Xbox or not?
So, E3 is coming up soon, and I don't remember the exact date, but it's in June sometime.
June, yeah, I think it's summer.
A little birdie told me that there will be a Microsoft hardware release at this event, and I don't know what that means, but Phil Spencer's been talking a lot lately about upgrading hardware. And when Sony did their 4K, actually Sony never announced it, when it was leaked that Sony was basically going to have a midstream replacement for the PlayStation 4, which would be kind of a first for consoles. And is a system that I think can work perfectly well. It became obvious to me that Microsoft needs to do the same thing, because in this current gen, they don't really have 1080p capabilities in the current console. They're behind Sony from a kind of a technical perspective. This would be an interesting way for them to do two things. One is to catch up to Sony finally, and to do so on a generation of consoles where the games will all still work. And so imagine if you could run an existing game and have it appear, more graphically, appear nicer with higher resolution on a better console. Like, that'd be kind of amazing, whether it was 4K or not. But the other one is VR, right? Like, I think by putting so many resources behind HoloLens, which is understandably exciting and all that kind of stuff, they've kind of left out this thing, which I think has got a broader appeal for games, which is VR. And Sony has, Google has shown how cheaply you can do VR. Not that there's a lot of interactive stuff going on there, but I mean, just the ability to show consumers how cool VR can be. And then you see things like Oculus Rift and Hive and so forth, all this the PlayStation VR and all that kind of stuff. They need something like this, you know. I would be surprised if there wasn't something. So that new hardware, it could be this down-level componentized version of the console we've been talking about. It could be the gameless version of the console. When you think about Universal Windows platform apps coming to Xbox, all of a sudden the notion of an Xbox One that doesn't play games starts to actually make sense, because now we're going to have all these apps. I don't know what it is, but I do really think they need a VR solution, and I would be really surprised if we didn't see something about that this year, whether it's at E3 or in the fall or whatever. It's overdue.
I hope they're not so all in on HoloLens that they say, well, we don't really need to do VR.
I think it was Phil Spencer. Someone from Microsoft has explicitly said HoloLens is not it. I can't remember the exact quote, but the inference was, we feel like we've gone a little too far in that direction. We need to, because there's a less expensive, more easily achievable technology that's sitting there for the taking, and I just can't believe they're not there already.
I hate to say it, but PlayStation's gonna eat their lunch.
Yep,
if they
they already are.
Yeah. Well, even if you don't think you're going to buy a VR headset, you're going to buy the platform that has the VR headset in case you do someday.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's just it's a cycle of life kind of thing. It doesn't matter if you're going to use VR or not. The fact that this thing is available there is making that platform more valuable to everybody, and it benefits everybody. Exactly. So I hope so. I really do.
All right, let's take a break, and the back of the book coming up in just a second. We got tips from Paul and software and mobile software. And Brad, are you going to do an enterprise pick?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. And even beer.
Yep. I finally got to talk about beer.
Finally. Man, poor
it's going to be a Mythbusters episode.
He's been muzzled all this time.
Yep.
Our show, what were you drinking at the build party?
Oh, boy. What was it? A Kolsch or something like a Kolsch? What the heck was that?
That wasn't the best, in hindsight, place to go beer-wise. There must have been.
No, it wasn't a tremendous beer selection.
21st Amendment or somewhere like that, yeah.
McCalibar would have been.
Go,
Paul,
Paul,
we would have residency at that place.
We could have gone 3 for 3. We went there twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Every
you
night.
talking like Mosser is a residence hotel. Like, is McCalibar like a residence bar?
Yeah,
can I just
for you,
rent out a chair for the rest of the year or something? It was so awesome. Like the Ernest Hemingway of McKellar.
The usual table, Mr. Thurrott. You're back.
Duh, and
We
or
missed
hello. Yeah.
We've saved a table for you all this time.
Thank you.
Our show today brought to you by ZipRecruiter. If you're in the mood to hire, well, really, mood is probably not the right word. You have to, don't you? You've got an opening and you're the person in charge. Well, there's a couple of things you probably already know. First of all, let's fill that position as fast as you can. But let's also remember that the right person makes a big difference in a company. And you probably had the experience of, I know I have, of hiring both the right and the wrong person. A wrong person will bring your company down. It just really, it's just trouble, and it's going to be trouble for a while. The right person can bring your company up, can transform your company. That's why you really, really need to go to ZipRecruiter. See, the right person's out there. We know that. The trick is to find that person, to get to the one job board or whatever that they're on. With ZipRecruiter, you're posting to more than 100 job boards, plus Twitter, plus LinkedIn, plus Facebook, so that, Craigslist, so that your job posting's getting everywhere. And that means you're more likely to hit the right person. Plus, the minute you post on ZipRecruiter, they match you up to more than 6 million current resumes they have in their own files, because ZipRecruiter also is a job board in and of itself. So within 24 hours, you're going to start getting the candidates. They're going to come rolling in any city, any industry, nationwide. The nice thing is there's no calls to your phone, no emails to your inbox, because it all goes into the ZipRecruiter interface, where you can quickly screen rate and hire the right person fast. I wonder, this number, by the way, has jumped. It was, the last time I did the ad, it was 400,000. Now it's 800,000 companies have used ZipRecruiter. It's growing by leaps and bounds. We've used them. Everybody's used them. It's the way to do it. So if you're hiring, now is the time to go to ZipRecruiter.com/Windows and try it for free right now. ZipRecruiter.com/Windows. It's the best way to fill that opening and get exactly the right person. All right, let's get a tip.
I'll keep it PG.
PT, the PG.
So in the tip of the week, I alluded to this earlier. It's possible to run desktop apps with a Windows 10 mobile handset and Continuum, right? Where you can use a big screen, you can use a big keyboard and a mouse. It looks like a PC, kind of works like a PC. But of course, what you don't get access to is Visual Studio, iTunes, Chrome, Photoshop, whatever desktop applications you love. Is the wind howling so loud you can actually hear it that way?
Wow. What's going on?
I don't know. I hope I'm spinning off to Oz or something.
Yeah, it sounds like a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know.
Don't open that door. There might be a big dog outside.
So, yeah, we had an early spring, and now it's winter again. So it snowed for 2 days. It's going to snow again this weekend. There's snow on the ground. I don't know what's going on here. End of times. So the solution today for an individual is you can use remote desktop, and it's not great. I mean, you already have if you have a computer running Windows, why wouldn't you just use the computer? But it does work. It works over your local network. If it has an IP address, you can access from outside the house. You can do it remotely, even literally from outside the house. But there's some more stuff coming down the road. Microsoft talked about some of the stuff, not at a session, but at one of those theater events at Build. And of course, we know that HP's working on their stuff for their own phone as well. But one of the things that's kind of interesting, and this ties into Microsoft's transition from on-premises servers to Azure, is that businesses have offered a way to remotely access individual apps inside of a business. And so, in other words, you publish apps that are virtualized. Users run them over the network. They appear on the desktop alongside normal apps that are local, and the user really has no idea. And it's just kind of one option for delivering apps to users. And there's an Azure version of this called Remote App, and it works through Remote Desktop. And so instead of connecting to an entire desktop, what you're connecting to is an app. And so if you could imagine like a Windows 10 mobile desktop where you have your universal Windows platform apps, you could have a link in the taskbar or the start menu to a desktop app. It would just be for the app. And so instead of running like a whole Windows desktop session on top of this other desktop, you literally just bring up the app, and it could be Visual Studio, iTunes, whatever. This is not something that's available to consumers today, but it's kind of hard to imagine that Microsoft won't make that available to consumers in some fashion. It probably won't be called Azure Remote App or whatever, but as a feature of Office 365 for consumers or some consumer-facing service, whatever it might be. I mean, it's something to look to going forward, because we know, as we all know, one of the big problems with Windows Phone is apps, and this is a way to bring real desktop apps to the phone. It's kind of crazy that it even works, so it's kind of neat. And just as a bonus tip, I wanted to remind everybody, as I do every month, because it is a new month, the Games for Gold has reset. There's new games available. This is the first time, I think, that I literally want every single game that's coming out this month for free. Xbox One's got a Telltale game called Wolf Among Us. Telltale is the company that made actually, I think there are 3 of them now, the Walking Dead series. I actually completed the first 2. They're fantastic. And so it's another Telltale series. And then Sunset Overdrive, which is an awesome game.
That's a great game.
But on the Xbox 360 side, and remember, these games will all work on Xbox One as well through backwards compatibility. Two more awesome AAA titles. Dead Space, which I did play when it came out originally, and I think I got stuck. I was probably half or two-thirds of the way through it, and I never completed it, so I'm going to look at that one again. And then the other one is Saints Row 4, which I think is the completion of that series of games. Saints Row was a big deal on the Xbox 360, so kind of a big month for that kind of stuff. And then I actually have 2 software picks, but I already talked about PS4 Remote Play. That was my desktop pick. On the mobile side, Todoist came out with their Windows 10 app. Todoist is a to-do task-based app. It's been around for a long time. It's available on every platform, and now it's on Windows. It works on Windows 10 Mobile if you have that. It works on the Windows 10 desktop where, like all good universal apps, it actually transforms into a much more complex and full-featured app on the desktop, so that's really cool. I also wanted to say, one of the things that's kind of interesting is we kind of gone forward in time. Like we've done 400 and whatever episode is this, 460 episodes of Windows Weekly. I obviously don't install 460 apps on my computer every time I install it. So, things have evolved over time, and my usage, changes over time. I install much fewer heavy desktop applications these days than I used to in the past. And so coming up with these picks every week is kind of interesting because sometimes it might be something that works on the web. Sometimes it's something that works on a non-Microsoft platform. Sometimes it's just something that works on mobile because that's where a lot of the action is these days. But I was talking to the guys, Alan and from Ad Duplex, and they have a great app, which I actually did recommend, by the way, called Appraised, which is a way to find really great apps in the Windows Store based on how people vote for them and upvote them and so forth. And I'm going to use their data to do a mobile pick every week going forward. And so it will be basically what the top rated app of the week is in the store on the mobile side. So I'm going to start that next week. I was going to start it this week, but Todoist came out and it seemed like a great pick. But we should have some high quality picks that should be applicable across PC and mobile as we go forward too. So we'll see how that goes next week.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Todoist is good. I've used it, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. I met their Windows guy. He's a really nice guy.
Good. Now for an enterprise pick of the week. As I mentioned, Mary Jo Foley, a little under the weather. She's lost her voice, but Brad is going to pick it up and run with it.
Yeah, Mary Jo and I, we actually talked about this at Build. We're not enterprise people. I mean, we're enterprise people, but we love the strategy
we're
of
not
the corporate
people.
world.
They think they're people.
No, they're not.
No, we've always just been curious about the strategy that Microsoft takes when they're going after the big bucks in any corporation. But something Microsoft announced today, Microsoft is bringing their cloud app security service to general availability. This is a new service for the company, but it's really, back in, September, they acquired a company called Adalem. And what this is, it's just cloud-based security. So anything from like Salesforce to Google Apps, Office 365 that runs in the cloud, you can now use this security service to monitor these applications and keep better control over your system. It's a pretty smart play for Microsoft. They have everything in the cloud. They have infrastructure, platform, software, and now they have security as a service. And it's going to start at, unless you do a bundled, I'm assuming it'll get cheaper, but at $5 a seat. So
nice.
That is what is going on in the enterprise space this week.
Nice. And your code name.
So there's two code names, and I'm still trying to work through how these work out, but what they're called Ocean View and Project Rome. So Microsoft is bringing continuity with its apps at some point to the Windows world, which means if you're using it on your phone, at least on a Windows phone, and you go to the PC, you can take over and continue where you left off. I'll be really curious to see if they can do that with Android or possibly iOS. But let's see. So Ocean View is, I believe, task continuity, and I believe Project Rome is the handover mechanism. And I'm still trying to make sure I have those right. They could be flip-flop, but those are the two, I believe, code names that relate to that project.
Cool.
Project Rome is handoff, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Project Rome handover, Ocean View, task continuity.
Yep.
So.
And who wants to do the beer?
So I'm going to do the beer.
All right.
Because Mary Jo just, has this, we have this running gag where like I hate IPAs. And the thing is, what I hate is the kind of cheap hoppy effect that most IPAs have. Like if you go to a typical craft brewery, it's and I know the brewer from the local place, and he agreed with me. My contention has always been that hops is the cheapest effect that you can add to beer. If you're trying to make a beer, you want to have people drink, like people notice hops, like it's just cheap.
It's true.
And people overdo it. And the truth is, like, these guys make a ton of IPAs, actually, including one I didn't list here, and they're all fantastic. And for whatever reason, these local guys just get this right. Two of my favorite beers of all time are two of their beers, Quarter Mile, which is a double IPA, and Imperial Red, which is an Imperial IPA, and these beers are incredibly high in alcohol. They're fantastic. But even their classic Blue Hill IPA is great. We went to, I guess it was a St. Patrick's Day event that they had at the end of March, and they had something called RPG IPA, and my wife she drank a lot of it, and we got home and she fell asleep, and I didn't see her for a while, and then we looked it up, and it turns out it was super high in alcohol, and I said, it's funny, RPG is a term I see a lot in Call of Duty because it stands for rocket propelled grenade, and maybe that should have been a tip off. It was that was a problem. So, but it's Blue Hills Brewery is my local brewery. They're in Canton, Massachusetts. And so if you don't live within like a 50-mile radius, you're never going to see this beer, unfortunately. But almost all of their beer is fantastic. I talk a lot about their barley wine beer, Fortis Pagus, which is unbelievable. Their Dunkelweiss that they make in the winter is fantastic. The wheat beers that they do in the summer are great. They just came out with the first one of those, which is how I actually measure how spring starts. But their IPAs are great, and I just think it's terrible when I go to these breweries all over the place or to craft beer places, and like the IPAs are always like to me it's like sucking on rocks. It's just awful, and these guys do it right. So, and plus they have a beer called Black Hops, which I love. It's not technically an IPA.
Black Hops. They're obviously gamers, right?
No, but I don't even know where that one comes from. But it's such an awesome name.
You'll have to come to Cincinnati. There's a brewery called Mad Tree, and they have an IPA called Psychopathy. I
think I have shared with all of you my favorite beer name of all time, which is 668, The Neighbor of the Beast. So excellent.
That's very good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Hey, Brad, thank you so much for filling in for Mary Jo. Brad Sams is executive editor at Petri, including Thurrott.com. And
I learned today he's my boss.
For the moment, he's the man.
That makes the last couple of months a little awkward for me.
Yeah, okay.
It's our wives are the boss.
Okay. Paul Thurrott is at Thurrott.com and is the author of a great many books. The Field Guide series is the one to take a look at now, and that is at
Lean Pub.
Right. What did you say?
Lean Pub.
LEANPUB.com.
That's correct.
Got it. We were getting those beautiful posters framed.
Yeah. Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Aren't those beautiful?
Yeah, they'll be in the new studio. They're
yeah,
really
Martin
nice.
McLean made those. Yeah.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We do this show every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. If you'd like to tune in and watch live, be in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. But if not, don't worry, on-demand audio and video is available after the fact at twit.tv/WW. It's also on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, I never remember all of the show channels because every show has its own YouTube channel. But if you go to youtube.com/twit, you'll find all the channels there and also some playlists. Like a number of people want to know, well, where are the reviews these days now that we don't do before you buy? Well, there's a review channel. So that way you can just we aggregate all the reviews there. The Twit bits are there. We did a 360-degree video with the new $60,000 Ozo camera of the new screensavers and MacBreak Weekly. Those videos are also there at youtube.com/twit, and all the Twit bits are there. Let me real quickly see where Windows Weekly is on the YouTube. God, we have a lot of channels.
I don't think the URL is friendly. Like, I don't think
it's friendly-ish. It's youtube.com/twit Windows Weekly.
Oh, that's
so I guess we couldn't get Windows Weekly, so it's Twit Windows Weekly.
Sure.
Well, of course, you could subscribe on your favorite podcatcher or in the apps that are everywhere, including Roku and Apple TV and iOS and Android and even Windows Phone. Thanks to Dimitri Lealin. Nice job.
Yep.
Thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly.